here's our setup here at Lockswood Festival here. And let's take a look and see what we've just set up. Here we go. Look at that disco dome, dinosaur castle, monster truck, and now 50-foot assault course. So this is what our event setup can look like. It changes every time we do an event, but this is what ours is today. Everybody, welcome here to Bounce Busters, and on today's show we're going to be looking at what to do if your castle gets caught out in the rain while it's on a booking, and how to dry them out. So, let's get on with it, shall we? Right, here we are with a situation with one of our wet castles. That went out yesterday, and unfortunately it rained all day long on a downpour. As soon as we set it up it was dry, but then an hour later it decided just to rain all day long. But the person who hired it decided just to switch it off and leave it in a big puddle of water all day long, which we don't advise to do. Sure, if it's very heavy rain and winds and that, yeah, we say switch everything off for the electricity, and safety always does come first. But light showers, you know, I'd say don't put them off, because when you have light showers, the rain can just run off the castle and not fill up inside, even though it will sort of do that in its weird, funny way. Now if you do that, then you've got this situation here when you've got a castle that is just completely full of water. Now this castle has been out here for about an hour or so drying out, and the best way to get rid of the big bulk of water is when you roll it up, stand it up for a few hours, or overnight. I've left mine in the shed overnight, and it will leak out of water no tomorrow. You'll see how much water is actually in there. And to be honest, with one of these 12 by 12 castles, when they're filled with water, believe you me, they can weigh 3 times, 4 times heavier than what they are when you roll them up in the first place, because it's like just folding up a swimming pool with water inside, and nobody wants to do that. So do prepare for this industry to get your hands a bit dirty sometimes when the weather turns a bit nasty. Anyway, overnight the water leaked out, the bulk of the water, so all we have is all the little bits and pieces that is just on there. Now if you don't bother to do that, over time the whole castle will turn mouldy, believe it or not. And if you don't use the castle for about a month or so, you will find that when you unroll it, it will be black everywhere. You will have mould everywhere, and believe you me, you'll spend 10 times more cleaning on it than what you would do if you were just going to do this the day after your hire. Basically just undo it, dry up all the big heavy wet patches, and then hopefully you might have some sunshine to help dry your castle out. So that's the easiest way to dry big bulky castles out. We've got this one here, our monster truck, which we'll be setting up soon. Now unfortunately that's got some extra different material on it, which actually does need to be blow dried, or you can leave it out like this and it will dry. But the best way to do them ones is to put it up and let the air dry it out. Now we'll show you with the monster truck later that some of these older castles come with different materials on them, with some extra tent materials on them, and we'll go over that when we do the monster truck. But for now we're just doing our 12 by 12 and how to do it. So what we've done is got some towels and just mopped up all the big areas, all the big puddles and all that type of stuff. Make sure you get all that off, and then just let it naturally dry. And as you can see, with an hour it is not doing such a bad job, and hopefully within the next half an hour or so we can fold it up, put it away, and it's ready to go for another hire. Anyway, so on to the next castle. Now we're going to have a look at our bouncy castle here today, the monster truck. Now the reason I want to show you this one is because it has some different features on it that you won't find on modern day, more new bouncy castles. Now let's have a look. Now I did mention before about the material that some castles do. Now only some of the older older castles will have this feature, like that top part there, as you see, and these wheels here.
as you see there. Now they're made of some type of other material, like tent style material. So I'll just put the tripod down there. Try and zoom out there a bit. There we go. Now, as you see here, this is kind of made of some tent material here, as you see, not like the normal bouncy castle material over there. This is made thinner due to what they were thinking back in the day, is to make the castle lighter, so you can pack it away and be easy moved about. Now sure, if this material was made of the normal bouncy castle material, it would weigh heavier than what it is. But I can see the concept behind it of making it lighter. However, there is a downside to this style of material now, as it is getting older. And be wary of this when you are making your purchase. So these castles do look terrific out on any hire or anything you're doing with events. But make sure when you go to buy these castles, make sure you can set them up and put the pump on them and blow them up. Really, put the pump on there, and that way you can see how much pressure there is. Now, these are notorious, older units, for losing air pressure. That's their big problem with this tent material. As they get older, the material gets more weaker, and sometimes, in some cases, I've seen perished. So be careful of this material, and if it's weaker and almost perished, you're guaranteed you will never get any pressure, good pressure, in your bouncy castle. Well, I'm talking about the bounce pressure. I mean, it will still blow up, but to bounce on it, it might be very uncomfortable. So do check this before buying. Make sure it's all fully inflated and got a strong bounce on it. I've had a few of these in the past, and a couple of them were just that far gone that they look great, but they could not hold any pressure because of this material. However, they're not all bad like that. I got my big birdie bug one, which is like this, which is very good and strong on pressure, and this one here, which I checked out before buying, and as you can see, it is really good pressure and holds a good bounce. So just a good buying tip there. If you are buying this style of castle, be careful, inflate it, make sure it's nice and bouncy before you hand over your hard-earned cash. Some of these older units are not worth the money and they won't hold pressure, so just be careful of that, but you can find some good gems out there.
Right, we're back here again about drying out your castles. Now, our disco dome got really wet yesterday, but apart from that, we're going to show you around our disco dome as well, so we're going to inflate it here and show you all about it. So here we go. There we go, as well as the big jelly bean is now nice and dry, we're about to pack it up. But that's the end of today's episode, so join us next week for some more goodies and some hints and tips about the bouncy castle hire industry. And if you've got any questions about anything we've covered here on the show, just give us a message, subscribe to the channel, and we'll get back to you here on YouTube and answer your questions about anything you want to know about the industry. Anyway, until next week, we'll see you soon, and goodbye.